Kitchen Business.
Well, from that report, we want to delve into matters taxation, and let's just recap our Twitter poll question this afternoon. And we're asking you, how best can Kenya Revenue Authority incentivize Kenyans to pay taxes promptly and truthfully? That is our Twitter poll question. I'm already seeing a number of feedback coming through, and perhaps you can be able to just see them there on the screen. And we're seeing Jimmy Gakio saying that if they lead by example to pay taxes and government to spend it promptly for Wanjiku to see and feel the returns. That's one of the comments. We have Anne Munyua saying that incentives by repaying overpayment of taxes by Wananchi so that law-abiding citizens do not find loopholes to regain their hard-earned money. Well, many thanks for those comments so far, and we'll be, of course, putting them out to the guests we have here this afternoon. And just to quickly reintroduce my guests, sitting to my left is Wanjala Makoha, a Senior Training Manager at Institute of Certified Public Accountants. And to the extreme left, we have James Oje, who is the Deputy Commissioner and Head of Policy at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Yes. Many thanks for joining us this afternoon. And gentlemen, tax issues have always been quite emotional for Kenyans, as you've just seen from those particular tweets. Many people questioning why is it that they are paying taxes, they're not getting what they expect. Of course, Kenya right now, we're talking of a budget of 2.6 trillion shillings. That was for 2017-2018. And out of this, the taxman is supposed to raise 1.7 trillion to meet the tax and spend plans of the government. There we see a shortfall of about 800 billion, which the government plans to borrow, domestic and overseas. So let me start off with you, Makoha. Do you get a sense of, do we pay taxes, and are they working for the betterment of Kenyans?
Thank you, Agina. Let me start by first saying that matters of paying tax are matters of law, and we need to be upfront with Kenyans. Since we decided to be a civilized society, we no longer live in the forests. So we have a state. For the state to oversee its affairs, then it must receive revenues from us, the people. So I do agree that there's a reason for us to make payment of tax easier. There is a reason for us to incentivize the payment of tax. But at the core of it, we must emphasize the fact that as a civilized society, one of our legal obligations, really the cost of being a citizen, is you should pay taxes. And then again, one small intervention as you have asked.
Of course, that's questionable to many Kenyans.
But Kenyans must be told upfront. I mean, how do we run government? Sure. It is world over. The alternative we have is to take a step back from civilization. To the extent that we have agreed to be a civilized state, as we are, then taxes must be paid. But one additional point that I want to make at this very initial stage is that KRA, my colleague would be able to emphasize more than perhaps I would. They are really a collection agent. They are an agent to collect on behalf of the state.
Sure.
So in terms of usage of taxes, again, Kenyans must be told the truth. It is the leaders that we put in place that then make decisions on how those taxes are used.
All right. I can see the man representing KRA is itching to respond. Please have it, sir.
Abi, as already stated, KRA is a collection agent, but we have the responsibility as well to educate the taxpayers. The biggest challenge we have is that the citizen, the Wanjiku, does not know all these facts. But when we collect tax, we need to educate the taxpayer that this is money to develop the roads, to provide for the security, to provide for education, so that they pay the taxes while smiling. Now, KRA, we have got the responsibility to facilitate each and every citizen. And of course, equity and fairness should be seen in our tax system. Everybody, every citizen should ideally pay their taxes. It's a legal obligation. It's in the new constitution. And as we reform, we restructure, this is our biggest mandate, to ensure that every Kenyan is facilitated to pay the taxes.
All right.
Yes.
And OJ, still keeping it with the paying taxes.
Yeah.
There's a perception and a feeling among Kenyans that paying taxes is tedious, number one. Number two, there's also that feeling that we are overtaxed. Perhaps just walk us through this.
Yeah, it's a feeling. I do agree that there could be challenges each and every citizen is facing while paying taxes. It's the government responsibility, and specifically KRA, to make this process simple as a way of incentivizing the taxpayers to pay. How have we done that? We have embarked on an aggressive automation process. Automation to the extent that we expect the taxpayers to be doing so while filing returns from the comfort of their offices. We would like not to see those long queues in Times Towers. That is the biggest pain area which we have realized is trying to push away our taxpayers from complying. The processes, even internally, in terms of once you file, refunds have been mentioned, one of the key issues.
Sure.
We are working on that.
We'll be getting to that.
Thank you. But as far as our internal processes are concerned, automation is key. And we are transforming currently.
I know there's the iTax.
The iTax. The iTax is a very powerful platform which empowers the taxpayer to make direct inquiries about his tax affairs with the Revenue Authority. While making tax returns, we expect the taxpayer to do so through that platform. While making any inquiry in terms of filing an application for refunds, you do the same. And we already have a service chart whereby we need to respond to issues which are paining the taxpayers in the shortest time possible. And we have decentralized service points. You need not to come to Times Tower to get services. Besides our stations, which are widespread throughout the country, we also have the Huduma centers, which would like to be centers to serve our taxpayers.
All right.
Okay. And this is where we are moving to. Yes.
I know you want to respond.
Yes, I wanted to come in a little bit. You have indicated Kenyans feel it's a painful process to pay tax. And of course,
that actually leads to tax avoidance.
Yes. However, I will not sit here and say matters of tax can be made so simple. Because if you look at operations of companies, these are matters of both accounting and matters of law. So Kenyans need to appreciate the fact that if you have a single income, for example, then there is reason for us to try and make this as easy as possible for you to file. But in the event you have challenges, that's why we now have professionals. We have the certified public accountants. We have lawyers who are tax practitioners. Kenyans need to appreciate the fact that if something is beyond your ability, then you need to get the help of an expert, which we do in all other affairs of life. Like, for example, if you don't feel very well, you consult a doctor. And we are very patient on our way to seeing a doctor. So issues of finances also, if your incomes are a number of income streams or you are in operations that have a complex nature, then I don't think KRA will be able to simplify it to an extent where you can, as a non-accountant, as a non-lawyer, as a non-tax practitioner, for you to file. So let's make it simpler, but Kenyans should also be willing to seek help on matters they don't understand.
Yes. And OJ, just picking up from his point, of course, it's not a question of whether people should pay taxes or not. It is enshrined in the law.
Yes.
But the reality is, look at the numbers of people who are already in the tax net.
Yes.
It is not the numbers you'd want. You'd want to grow the tax net and be able to tax more people.
Yes.
So that eventually we might have the taxation brackets be lowered.
Yes, yes.
So a lot of people were asking, why does KRA set a tax of 30%? I know it's not KRA, but it's in the Income Tax Act.
Yes.
So how is it that we're paying this huge amount? What can be done differently to see more Kenyans to participate in paying taxes, but they get that feeling that as much as I'm paying taxes, the government is not taking everything I'm earning?
The key question here, Abby, is how do we reach out to the public to ensure that there is voluntary tax compliance? That's the key issue. It becomes expensive for the tax authority to be following up citizens, Kenyans, to pay taxes. But the moment the Kenyans understand their obligation to pay taxes, they will come forward to file their tax returns. We are working on a project of taxpayer-based expansion. And that is going to be the critical point where we will reduce the burden of the few Kenyans who are paying the taxes currently. When you come to our statistics, taxpayers who are within our database, we have got a huge number of taxpayers who are falling under the category of nil, none, and credit filer. Many Kenyans out there are in gainful employment, but they are not filing. There are those who are filing with us, but they are filing nil. And the other category are filing with us, but they are expecting us to refund them. And therefore, there is a question of accurate filing for those who are filing. There's another question of how many Kenyans out there should be in our tax bracket and are not doing so.
So, first of all, what are the numbers like of Kenyans paying taxes as we speak?
Now, Abby, I would like to address that question from this point of view. Our population is well over 45 million. We are talking of, even if you take 10 million Kenyans to be active income earners, that would be a very, very important point to note. But what numbers we are talking about currently is below 3 million. We would like to expand that number beyond that to ensure that those active income earners out there are in our tax net. And this is the pain area for KRA to bring up smart strategies. How do we bring on board that segment of taxpayers who are in active employment but are not paying taxes? Yes.
Yeah, if I'm allowed, I wish to step in, because I think the crux of the matter is really getting Kenyans into the tax net. And I think here the approaches are two. There's the push and pull.
Yes.
One is we need to push Kenyans into the tax bracket, but the other strategy is we also need to pull them by making incentives, by making it easier. But I think natural human persons, I think we shouldn't spend too much resources on the pull. We need to spend more time on the push, and I will share a few examples. One, for example, and OJ will step in. There are Kenyans, for example, who are hooked on the electric power under KPLC. There are Kenyans who renew their motor vehicles. There are Kenyans who have loans from Higher Education Loans Board. There are Kenyans who have port property, and this statistics is available. One of the things, and I don't pretend that it is easy, but I tend to think there is need for a massive software that can then, I don't know how they call it technically, but that can then
integrate
all this data from all government institutions, bring them together, and begin to ask the taxpayer why he has not come. So the question should be not we wait for the taxpayer to come. The question is we need to begin asking Kenyans why they have not come, so that we talk to them, so that it becomes impossible for you to hide an income. Because in this country, I dare say, it is possible to earn and the KRA may not be aware. And let me give an example. In Sweden, I'm informed, for example, the registration of persons as a function has been moved to the Revenue Authority. So at the time you are born, these guys are aware a potential taxpayer has arrived. And they wait for you when you get 18.
They lay in wait.
They lay in wait and wait for you. When you reach 18, they have all your records. They know which schools you went to, whether you are working, whether you have done an internship. Therefore, it is easier for them to pick you up.
Yeah.
Currently, in our country, we have databases that are not synchronized. You go to Kenya Police, they have their database. Ministry of Youth Affairs, they have their database. You go to Ministry of Lands, database. Ministry of Health, database. And finally, the Ministry of Education. I also hear they are coming up with a separate database. I think as a country, and this requires serious political will, because the impact is this. It will be possible by querying one number to know the entire property that Makawa Wanjala owns. Because if you go to the Ministry of Lands, all the lands I own will be under the same number. If you go to a bank, all the accounts I have will be under the same number. If you go to the stock market, all the securities I own will be under the same number. My passport will be under the same number. My utility bill under the same number. KPLC under the same number. The question is, do we have the courage as a country to do that? If we did that, I am sure the numbers will jump from 2.5 to 10 million.
Do you have the courage as we wrap up?
We do, Abi, and I want to support that line of argument. Third-party data is the most powerful means of bringing everybody to the tax net. And this works well the moment we have automated our processes. Currently, we have invested heavily on the iTax platform. What you are saying, we need to have this system talking to other government systems. That's the key. Yeah. If we have integrated the iTax, for example, to IFMIS, then we are so sure that transactions by suppliers to the county governments, we will have 100% visibility.
All right.
And the integrity of these systems will work perfectly well. And that's why there's need for the government support of that integration to so many systems. We should not be developing systems which are isolated and not talking to one another. PIN is a very powerful identifier for our taxpayer recruitment. And before you apply for PIN, we link up to the register of persons where we obtain your ID. And we'll be able to tell how many Kenyans have been issued with ID and are active and are supplying the county governments, but are not in our tax bracket.
All right.
That is the strategy.
All right.
Yes.
Many thanks, gentlemen. Of course, this is a subject that we cannot exhaust in one sitting, but at least we've been able to give it justice. Yes. And we'll be crossing over with Mr. OJ